Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing? Happy Friday. Hey, Chris. How are you doing? I saw you're gonna stream later today too. I yeah, 2 weeks in a row, nice. Uh, I was like, oh, I hope I'm not gonna miss. You already streamed. Okay, so I missed it. Short one. Okay, I'll have to watch the replay. Do you put? I remember if you put replays. Can't recall. Um, yeah, happy Friday. I'm coming into some vacation here, so next week I'm gonna be on vacation. I can start catching up on stuff that I've not got unable to handle in the past couple of months. But you have a playlist on YouTube for streams, sweet. Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like if I didn't have a schedule, it would hit different. You know, that's why I try to keep to it. So today we are going to kind of continue what we were doing the past few weeks. Hop on over. Actually, reasonably prepared today and have most everything open. We were working on setting up a queue with Affection, and we were running into some issues getting that working. And I think we had sort of settled on this. Let's go ahead and start a survey here. So we are trying to. I think this will ultimately lead into channel point redemptions, of which I don't think I have any right now. And the idea is that we can have assets, likely GLTF. We can grab them off the interwebs, make something in Blender if we feel like. But we can also put animations on those and have the channel point redemptions have an effect on how those come in and transition and whatnot. So I just think it would be a nifty little thing, and we get to play around with some three.js, which I don't typically have the wherewithal to do otherwise. So we were working on getting a queue in Effection. Let's open up this. Effection is some sugar built on top of. Everyone gets 3 default redemptions. This one and 2 emote ones. Oh, I honestly thought I ripped them out. Oh, I guess I can you actually remove those? Maybe you just straight up can't remove those. I thought I had pulled everything out. I should probably add a hydrate one, even though that's the thing that everybody does. But like, I also I also never remembered to drink. Hence the I stole my wife's water bottle. I definitely didn't start it at 7 a.m. But regardless of that, I'm behind. We're working on it. I've been pretty decent. I've been getting through like 3/4, 90% at least every day. Some days I actually finish. So pretty proud of that. And I definitely do notice a difference when I am more hydrated than not, which I guess makes sense. But so we want a queue. So when somebody sends a message, we want to start. I thought we had that working last time. TMI client, action scope. I thought we had this logging. Maybe we didn't have it logging in with an infection. So I was trying to use the React hooks library that we have, but we were running into issues. And I thought of something the other day. We have a package in Effection called an inspector. I think we got screenshots somewhere around here. Yeah. So it's a way to view basically how your programming is running. It's like a visual representation of it, which is pretty nice, I think, especially for where we end up using Effection tends to be in like server standing up lots of things, dev kind of situations, where like being able to see all these processes and how it's going on and where things could potentially be going wrong, super helpful. Is my music good? I feel like it's just a tad high. Well, at least it was for me. Okay. So yeah, the inspector, I'm pretty sure the inspector uses this, and we might be able to just steal some code from it. At Effection React, sweet. Oh. So it sets up an Effection scope. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So that's probably we're using run, and that must be it. It must be expecting a full scope. So I bet you that's the piece that we were missing. So the way Effection works is, I guess kind of in the vein of like a tree hierarchy sort of thing. I'm kind of thinking it's got like similarities to React, bubbling around in the back of my head. But the idea is that you have like a main. I mean, it's literally called main, but you have a thing that like wraps everything, and that has the context. And as you spawn off and do functions from there, you sort of get these child pieces. And what we can do is within any of those can fail, and they bubble up to the main process, but then the main process will help cleanly shut down all the siblings of that, which is really handy when you're doing child process stuff within Node, which is spawning off extra like terminal commands effectively. And if you don't properly shut those down, you get a thing called zombie processes. I don't know if that's like an official term or not, but get zombie processes that aren't cleaned up and just stick around on your system until you restart, basically. So let's go ahead and do this exact same thing here. We are going to wrap our render in an Effection scope. I don't need to do WebSocket stuff, I don't think. I mean, I think I might actually want to eventually do WebSocket stuff, because in the browser, the WebSocket can I was to say we could connect to OBS over WebSocket, which you can. There is a plugin to basically hook up or like run a WebSocket server through OBS. So that is something we can use. But I think they have actually added some, I think at the browser source, ways to control things in OBS actually. So we might not actually even need, depending on what we want to do with an OBS, we might not actually need a WebSocket server. So one of the ways we could do this is if somebody does a channel point redemption, we can actually we could have that switch scenes. And that might help with more complex effects. But for now, we don't need that. So for the most part, I think we're just going to be wrapping this whole React DOM render. What's it rendering? App. How's it getting the root? And it does set up affection context there. Hash router, React router DOM. Oh, document query selector. Got it. Okay. So let us the URL. Oh, the ports for the WebSocket server. URL is for React router, I'm presuming. Where's URL used? Oh, port. Okay, it actually pulls the port off of the URL. That's what it is. Okay. And this little piece. And we need affection main. Do I actually care about the scope at all? Yes, I need the scope for my affection context. So we also have this app. Let's close these. Index and app. Index is the thing that has the render call. App is what I'm importing. And we had originally put the affection context there, of which we were doing kind of our own. Well, I guess we were using it a little bit. But I think I'm going to, if we're just wrapping everything in it, including this main call, I think it probably just makes sense to do it all within the index.js. Got a cough. We've got some weird weather going on lately. It's been like sort of coldish, rainy. Definitely nicer than it has been, but not great for that good vitamin D from the sun, I tell you. Okay, so let's get our context in here. So it looks like, Chris, you were doing mostly game stuff again? I haven't actually watched the video. I saw it right as I went to drop my link in there. Apps. I don't think we care about slice. Inspect state. Okay. Small 2D platformer sandbox. Nice. Did you start from scratch or did you kind of build off of... Oh, Rapier. Nice. Did you use Rapier for your... You did the like corgi platformer. Was that in there as well? I don't think I've heard of Heron. So for those who are unaware, these are all Rust. Bevy is a game engine built in Rust, and there was other ones in the same vein, and this is sort of the newer one on the block, but it's going real fast. The like velocity of what they're implementing, it's going pretty quick. But they seem to have a better way to kind of implement these other pieces that aren't specifically controlled by Bevy. And the crates have gotten better since the Cargo Game Jam. Huron is a higher level crate on top of Rapier. Okay. Not that. Definitely this. Um, why do I feel like I can't pronounce that right now? Huron? That just sounds wrong. This is kind of like Keyman. uh, why does that sound wrong? I definitely know, like, I recognized that's what it was, but okay. So I think we have our context and our provider all set up. It sounds wrong to you too. Then I don't feel so bad. Okay, can I log file? Okay, let's. Come on. So I think we got our index to go. And we will see if. So we're getting something there, and we're getting that. Now the question is, what do we need? We've got Twitch inputs and frame. And Twitch inputs is doing the scope stuff. Is that what they are also doing? They're probably using the hooks, which is what we were trying to use the other day. And we were running into troubles, I believe, because we didn't have this main. Did they do everything in app? Use slice. Okay. So I think we can kind of just use the hooks now, as we were expecting to do. So if we go to the React package, unfortunately we don't have great docs on this yet. This all works in the browser and in Node, but we've tended to do a lot with it in Node, so we haven't like hit on all those great use cases for it yet in the browser. And this is basically what we were doing manually because we weren't able to get this to run. So, and that is actually doing the use effect. So if we say, do I need to do? I don't think I actually need to do any of this, the skipping stuff. I think it's just handling all of it. So I think I can just give it operations now. So we're hoping here that I don't. We're gonna roll with it. Use operation. We're hoping that that's all we need to do. So we got no errors. Hey, Finite. How are you doing? Unfortunately, it's not working up there. How'd the Rust stuff go? Speaking of Rust, you were getting rusty. Was it last night? Gosh, this week is just blended together. Okay, so let's just drop some logs in here. Let's make sure we're even getting into this. And Tuesday night, nice. Is that the first that you've gotten into? That error has me worried. I might be doing something wrong. Is that the first you've gotten into Rust? So I still don't think we're function test tree root. It is LJ's first attempt at learning Rust. Nice. It it does have a little bit of a learning curve, but I feel like a lot of that potential pain, for me at least, has been alleviated by the compiler errors and Rust Analyzer. I'm pretty sure I could not write Rust without those. So, thank you for anybody that has worked on that tooling, because, yeah. But yeah, overall, I do enjoy Rust. I've got a lot of C++ domain knowledge. I can imagine that. Most of my background is Python, JavaScript, dynamic type languages. And for work, I've been getting into TypeScript more as well. And it feels a little bit like TypeScript. Writing Rust feels a little bit like TypeScript. And yeah, it's just different enough. And some of the things like it doesn't punt on strings being a complex thing. So you need to understand a little bit more of that. And, it's not a bad thing. It's just different. Okay, so we want to use this hook. So they're using a use state, find slice by ID. Oh, settings context. Okay, so they get a provider for some of this. What are they doing with that? It really does have a nice mix of TypeScript-like ideas and C++ paradigms with its own special sauce. Yeah. And I'm impressed by like how flexible I guess it can be. Like every programming language tends to have like the use cases that it's good at. And I feel like Rust surprises me on how many of those it has. Like performance-wise, it's pretty incredible what they've done. But then the compiler errors and the safety behind a lot of that, on top of that. But like you can use it in embedded, through wasm bindgen. You can drop it onto the browser context. People have written web servers, GraphQL. It's it's surprising. Games. I mean, Chris was just talking about the game they were working on. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with what they've done. Plays well with others. Yes, and the community plays well with others too, which can't be said about all programming communities, unfortunately. But super appreciative of pretty much everything that they've done and accomplished there. do I do embedded stuff as well? I would say the most that I've gotten into it is with the Raspberry Pi stuff. I would like to do some Rust on hardware. So do, basically that embedded kind of stuff with Rust. But I just haven't gotten around to it yet. That might be a 2 years out kind of thing. We were just talking about what was that? I think I was just talking to you, Chris, about it the other day. Embassy, yes. Got the link. Oh, you saw somebody using that today too? Nice. You're about to start trying out how to sniff out my Streamlights RF remote signals and set up a ESP32 to act as an API for my lights. Oof. That was the tweet you retweeted? Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on this. Whoops, Ferris is having troubles right there. Um, I'm kind of hoping that, like, I would like to do it, but I don't have great use cases for it, and I don't, like, it would be more entertainment for me. So I'm kind of hoping that people will pave the way a little bit for me, so it'll be more entertainment rather than problem solving. It'll stay more entertainment than problem solving. But yeah, that's pretty cool. The So I can't remember if you know or remember offhand Finite. I've been working with the Tauri project for a while now, and that is a way to make a desktop app with a Rust backend and a WebView front end. And like this streaming kind of stuff, like a little streaming dashboard kind of stuff, like I really want to. Okay, I would say I thought I might have mentioned it. Oh yeah, because Tau, you've been working on Tau, and you know, yeah, like that kind of stuff I would like to play with. Little system web tray kind of stuff. Yep. Well, and then the funny thing too is we've got Tauri, but then there's also nope. What do we call it? This Tau. I remember it now. Yeah, and what's fun is you like it's just a browser, effectively. So whatever you can put in the browser, you can put in Tauri. And like that becomes really nifty because you could use whatever flavor of web thing that you want, as long as it ends up running in the browser and isn't expecting a server to be around. I mean, you still could hook up a server and do like server-side rendering and whatnot, but you don't really need it. It's not really worthwhile. So you can make it work. You can deliver a sidecar server along with it, but it's functionally, plays more to like static type sites. So something like Svelte would be really nifty to put in it. So something like so Ionic is let's pop over there. They are built on top of. I'm forgetting now. Gonna have to remind me. Find out you've worked with it before, right? Is it? I can't remember now. Capacitor. Yep. I'm like compose. Nope. Yeah, capacitor. So it's sort of the same architecture ish. And in the past there was issues with performance as far as using web views. It can be run completely independent from capacitor. Yeah, and that's the other thing that I really appreciated what they've done. They've put out is it stencil.js? And I think it's kind of nifty, kind of where they're not like they haven't put themselves in a box. They kind of have a bunch of boxes on the floor, and there's a little bit of a step between them sometimes. But like, oh yeah, Cordova, that was the other one. Did it used to be built on top of Cordova? I don't remember now. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, web components. I feel like they were the first ones that really dug into web components in a way that I thought might actually work. Which is interesting too, because then I seem to recall they were doing things where um, web components, rather than doing like browsery things, instead would do more native-y things, which could help with performance. Horrible mix of Cordova and JS. Yeah, okay. That was what I was remembering as far as like kind of the first implementation. But they really I feel like they've kept it alive in a way some other things that were built on top of Cordova weren't able to. Yeah, so I think I know more about Cordova than Capacitor. But either way, yeah, Cordova. Yeah, the messy old days, exactly. Um, so I am actually curious, like how, like I want to dig into the new version of Ionic more to understand like how it's put together relative to the Cordova stuff that I remember. Um, there's a lot of overlap and very messy. Ugh. I mean, sometimes that happens. So Tari right now has uh, Linux, Mac, Windows, and not a V1 thing. More than likely, well, definitely not a V1 thing. Probably a V2 thing will be support for iOS and Android. Um, which is interesting, and I'm curious how that's going to land performance wise, and the whole consideration with web views on mobile. Um, but also I'm curious how the Ionic things fit together. But anyways, um, it is a lot more independent. You can start a new node project, import Ionic and a framework, or you can just use vanilla JS. Yeah, it kind of feels like there's a lot of similarities between Tari and um, Ionic. So I definitely would like to kind of compare notes there, Um, and I like was coming back around to Rust being a very interesting thing. Rust, I've read a few articles now where there's talk about Rust being included as part of Linux kernels and replacing some of those low level things written in, is that C? Um, and like the flexibility of Rust in that way, I think is really interesting. And I'm curious how that would play. Yeah, first other language in the kernel. Um, I'm curious how that Rust stuff will end up playing out in all these different platforms. Uh, if you're interpreting things right, Tari is for desktop apps. V1, yes. V2 will very likely include mobile. We've got POCs for both at this point, I think, already. I think we got iOS was easier. Android has been a little bit more painful. I think the packaging has been a little bit more difficult. Pop! OS uses Rust heavily too. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So V1 of Tari, I think, is going to have a lot of similarities to what Rust can bring to the table, or what Electron can bring to the table. And I think at that point, then the main difference is Electron is bringing Chromium along for the ride. So when you get the app, you're getting a specific version of it's Chromium, right? Yeah. Tari is currently relying on the system WebView. So that's probably the one of the big like functional differences, other than architecture of what it's built on top of and whatnot. iOS packaging is great. The App Store approval process, on the other hand, ugh. And signing, Windows is kind of leaning towards requiring it more and more, I feel like, and the iOS is like, you gotta have it. We're trying to make it easy in Tari. It's not. It's not. Okay, so we want to get some outputs here. So I thought we could just use operation, but I'm wondering if we want to look at something else. It does use the context, and we're basically doing a use effect and a scope.run with the operation that we're passing in. So if we don't give it any dependencies, it's only going to happen on first run, which I think is fine, at least for right now, because all we need to do is set up our listener. Client connect message. Oh, so that's what we're going to do. We want to make sure I just dropped this console login here. So I want to make sure that we are actually seeing something. And it doesn't seem like we are. So why would we not be seeing anything? Children, function. So with this, they're doing use context. I don't know that anything is really using the use operation much. And I'm wondering if the expectation on the generator versus not is tripping me up here. So this is pulling in the context. And it's all React in here. So this is settings context. So this is setting up its own React context, which I think we will want. And we've got an affection context. Slice. So the main app here is here. It's got a couple functions. And it's using the provider from settings, which is a React context. That's what we just looked at. And we've got routes and a settings menu. And we are doing use slice. So slice is coming from the root when we set it up. Nope, not that. We want index. So when we set it up, we're setting up a slice. Inspect state is coming from, okay, the utils. So I guess I don't know if use operation is expecting an operation. Scope.run appears to be expecting a generator, which creates a task, and when it unmounts, it's actually going to halt that task, which I think is what we want. We might need to do like remove some listener kind of stuff in here, but we can deal with that. It is setting up a Effection context, so it should be wrapped in that main. I think we've got all the pieces here. There might be just something that we're missing, and it might be this invalid hook call stuff. Because we are not even getting this fragment. Yep. So there's something. Did I not get that log? I saw the log when it refreshed. All right. What am I doing that is, what am I missing? What am I missing? We've got two itch inputs. We have frame. Frame is the thing that is bringing in our React Fiber 3 with the canvas. So this should frame shouldn't be showing up. There is some weird caching something or something going on, I think. And it's been causing us issues for the past few streams here. There's no frame. Frame should not exist. It's existing. How is that coming in? Yeah, like it's getting the full canvas. What? What? So model is pulled into frame. Frame is then pulled into app. App has switch inputs and frame. If we don't have frame here, how are we getting it? Something feels off. Did a parcel thing recently with Bevy and Wasm and then just kept deleting the parcel cache. I'm pretty sure too. I ended up also deleting the parcel cache. And that still wasn't actually breaking my cache. That was like a stream or two, I think. I feel like there's something funky going on there that I am not seeing. I mean, hopefully that deleting the cache actually see like what is it caching? How is it? Yeah, this is the same kind of deal that we were running into before. I mean, it's clearly caching something somewhere. So like if I straight up delete the parcel cache, delete the dist, it's possible that that is not like it's doing a like dash dash trash or something, and it's not actually gone. That feels weird though. I'm gonna reload. So sometimes in Windows, VS Code will hold on to folders if you just trash them. I'm gonna go ahead and just reopen VS Code, and hopefully we see something a little bit different. Let's check out the CLI. It was connected. OMG, I was trying to get Bevy gamepad input going just now and was like, why isn't it working? It was connected to the Windows PC. Ouch. Okay, so are we using one of these CLI parameters in a way it's not expecting? I mean, besides the fact that we literally just copied their instructions. Serve, watch, and build. Serve starts development server, which automatically rebuilds and does hot reloading. So you don't actually need to specify serve. You can just specify parcel in the file directly. We are doing just that. So start is using parcel serve. There's also watch and build. So watch doesn't actually start a dev server, but it does the web build or rebuild. Let's refresh this. Okay. Are we getting? See, now that's different. So it must be partly a browser cache, reference error, infection trace. Infection context is not defined. Okay. So it's possible that it's however it's doing the hot reloading, it's actually like caching, doing some sort of browser cache or something. Okay, Effection. Got use operation. Let's just comment those out for right now. So let's confirm that our root is working as expected. So it's saying Effection. Okay. I didn't import Effection context. I'm finally now seeing that error. So that was definitely part of the issue. But why do I have to do? Yeah, it must be caching something. Potentially in the browser. So we need to import that. Let's go back to this and copy paste. So that should give us the provider. And now we're actually getting that log. So we can, from here, do this. And let's see if we are getting further. Use operation is not defined. Perfect. Okay, so now we're getting actual errors. I think part of it here is basically, it's possible it could be a React 18 thing too. Chris, when you were doing your stuff, were you using any framework with it, or were you just dropping a WASM directly in a script tag or something? Invalid hook call. Index HTML with WASM. Okay, so it must be something with parcel and maybe the browser cache and how it's doing the hot reloading. I know hot reloading is not an easy thing. The WASM stuff wasn't updating though; it was constantly cached. Yeah, and I've definitely seen that with the three.js stuff too, but also now with React. But it seems like it's not specifically a React issue if you're also seeing it. It's something with how Parcel is doing its hot reloading or server. So I'm getting an invalid hook call through my affection trace. Hooks can only be called inside of the body of a function component. Am I missing something here? Use operation, client. I don't even think I need any of these other pieces. I think there is actually a no cache, and I know it used to be an experimental thing. No, build serve lazy. Is that still lazy? I guess it is still a flag. When you navigate the page, builds only the files necessary for that page. It also works with dynamic import, which is cool. There you go. -- no cache flag. So it only disables reading from a cache. And I'm fine. Okay, you can still, let's go for it. But that's only on rebuild. Right, automate tracks. So like, there's this -- lazy mode. Lazy only builds the pieces that have changed. Presuming that's reliant on the cache. If you're not using the cache, I'm presuming that only comes into play when you restart the server. So still, what is it doing in between? Like if you refresh the page or something. So if we keep running into this issue, we might end up doing this -- no cache flag. But we're getting stuff now. So right now we're getting an invalid hook call within our Twitch inputs. I presume it's specifically with this use operation, which I may be using incorrectly. And it appears that that is the root of the issue. The Affection React package has a few hooks. Slice, stream, and subscription are built on top of use operation. Return state. Okay. Like I feel like this should still kind of make sense. And all of these are using use operation. Each of these is a generator, which is doing a thing. I wonder if it's like a, let's look at use operation again. So all it's doing really is setting the scope, the context, and doing a use effect. I mean, is it just a matter of the fact that I can't do that? Say my assignment. Invalid hook call. I feel like it's something simpler here. I mean, we could, let's see. How are they pulling it in here? App seems to have most of the things. So it's doing it's got a couple functions. And those functions are doing, oh, those are components. Okay. Find slice by ID is another function. Task tree root. Where's that coming from? Oh, no, it's just a component. Yep. Okay. So, I mean, it's just doing use slice and then it's returning. I feel like it's something with this use operation that I'm just not understanding. What time we got? Coming on an hour here. It may just be worth trying to use slice, stream, or subscription. There are, I mean, there's not much code here, so like we can always add like a key or something like that. But a subscription is, so we have a queue and a subscription is the thing that's on the receiving end of it. So within, we could potentially put this in our main function. And like within the actual React context. And then we can send things to the queue. So then the subscription would be basically watching the queue and running things on it. And that's probably what we'll end up doing with this. But right now we're just trying to log it out. So I think all we need to do is run it. But we need to do it within, I mean, I guess that's already in the context of this. Do we need to do it as an operation? So there's also streams. I don't know what the slice is. Is there a slice in here? Nope. I feel like we want to do use subscription. Yep. I feel like use subscription is probably the right choice once we get the alerts actually hooked up. But then the question is, why isn't, if we're just spawning off this connect, like this should work. Scope.run, the operation. And Effection context is a create context. So we're getting a React context for Effection. With this operation. And this whole thing is wrapped in a main with the scope. We are doing Effection context.provider. Which is coming from here. So we're doing the Effection.root. And then it's giving it a slice. And we are doing the yield there, right? Yep. So this is effectively saying like run this main thing with the render. And then when the render's like done, just yield. Yield, you can kind of think of in terms of async await as a comparison. Okay, so I don't know that this is actually going to work, but I am curious. So we're just going to do a normal refresh. We're getting the boops. We're still getting the reference error. Oh, TMI is not defined. On is not defined. See, like, I wonder if those were actually the errors that I was getting. It was just like, maybe we need error boundaries in here. Maybe that's the real issue here. So we're not getting it in a log here still. So I don't think this is quite correct. But I think we were missing those pieces, and it's just throwing a general error because we don't have an error boundary within it. Still an invalid hook call, but we are getting still getting that. Let's just do this for the moment. We can do a client.on message. And we basically want that. I'm assuming this is going to work. Okay. So it is something with this specifically. Events. I do think we want to yield. We can convert events into affection streams. And like this, I think is what we're effectively gonna. That's a typo. So we got messages, and on a message, we are gonna map the messages to. Oh. Okay. Well, let me drop this in there. And see if this makes a difference. So on a message to the client, we're going to get the event data. It's not actually going to be event data, so we're going to tweak that. I'll just paste that in there. And we are going to. So it's waiting for a start event. We are instead going to log that out. And do we not have that closed properly? No, we need one more, it looks like. Thought I was going to fix all these parentheses for me. I guess not. There we go. I was complaining about all the parentheses. I thought I was going to fix it for me. Still an invalid call though. So I do think there's something funky going on with this use operation that I'm just not seeing. Oh. Got start message. Hey, there we go. Yeah, this use operation still, I guess, still a little bit over my head. So we don't need the start message. We can kill this. Oh, I still have this in there. It could actually be coming from that instead. Maybe it doesn't work. Yeah, so we had this in there still, and that's what was giving us issues. What time do we got? Man, this getting the affection in React to work has been a little bit painful without the docs. So this works, and we've got stuff kind of wrapped up how we want to, and we kind of just need to get this to work. This will then trigger a queue to run the animations. And we could subscribe to it in our model then. And I feel like that probably makes sense, because we can have this Twitch input sort of as a top level thing, and it just gets dropped into like we could use React Router and route between the different frames. Or we can just load a specific model on demand. So it's just this piece that seems to be giving us issues. And I think this makes sense. I think we want to be using the operation because it's doing the context thing and it's doing use effect. We want it to run once. When the scope stuff changes, dependencies is effectively nothing. And when it unmounts, we want it to halt all the tasks within this scope. I think that makes sense. So like the halt would do all the event stuff and cancel all that. So like I think we want all of that hooked up, and I think it makes sense to keep it as part of as use operation. So the question just is this. I don't really need these. The question is just what is wrong with the use operation and how are we using it incorrectly? I'm going to do a hard reload just in case. It seems to be pretty clearly an invalid hook call. And like we're doing this, we are giving it a, I mean, it's not an anonymous function thing, is it? I mean, I can check. Init TMI. I don't think we actually need to return anything here. Init equals this. And we're not doing it with any of these functions or within the render. We are definitely just doing it outside of the function or within the function call outside of the render. Do not use it in class or do not call in event handlers. You might have mismatching versions of React. I feel like that would be surprising if that was the actual error there. Let's just double check though. So we get it. We do get React 17 from Affection React. And that is an actual dependency. Okay. So npm package JSON. Oh, I'm gonna be biffed if this is the actual issue. Here I thought I was doing something misdirected with an affection, and it will be something completely different, won't it? Now, I thought we're in 8. So they added a thing called overrides, which is very similar to resolutions within Yarn. We can override a specific, so you can have like a list of keys. So we can say, I think you could do nested kind of stuff. Make sure that Fuse always installed as version 1, no matter what. We can do that. This will cause foo to always be 1, and bar within the scope of this one to always be 1. So I think what we can do is in our overrides here, overrides, we are considering Effection / React. And within that, we don't really care about what version of that is on, but we do care about what version of React it's bringing in. And I'm presuming that I can do a star because I just want it to use whatever I have installed in my actual list of dependencies here, wherever I went. React. I wanted to use that. So I think if I give it a star, it's going to fall back to that. So we are React star from that. So we might still be getting it. I guess we'll just set it directly. Guess that probably doesn't really matter there. Now, what do we got? Okay, supposedly we're still getting it. And I don't know if that's because of the fact that I might need to reset my node modules, and that's what it's relying on. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna delete it in here. I might need to come back and like clean up my actual dependencies here. But I think this will be sufficient to actually like kick it off to use the proper version of React. Okay, so we are now getting a boop. It's getting into this. Are we getting a message? We're still not getting a message. But we're not getting an invalid hook call anymore, supposedly. We may need to yield on that. Oh, I am still doing the map. Do I? We're gonna take that out for the moment. Let's pull this one back in. We're not getting the client. We're not getting a bad hook call anymore, which is good. We're doing the init. We're getting into there. We're getting a connect. We're yielding on that. I'm assuming it's not having an issue with the connect. So let's just drop that in there just in case. Seems to be just fine, but it's specifically in the actual hook. Well, I think we've dealt with most of our issues here. Ironically, I think a lot of what was happening was 2 copies of React, which is unfortunate. And it's a sad face. So this here, I think, was falling back to, well, parts of it seem to have been falling back to React 17. How did I end up with 2 copies? So I've got React in my depths, like you'd expect. Effection React actually has dependency on React. That's how I was getting it. I'll have to play around with the overrides because I am still getting it here, but I've actually just gone into my node modules. Yeah, so I think that was a big part of it. I think a big part of it was I was like, I had no expectation that I would have 2 copies of React. I didn't expect it to actually be pulling it in. And I think that was causing a lot of the issue and hiding some of the actual errors. But now that we've resolved that, now we're down to just this not actually showing up. So like if we just do purely this, then it works. But when we start using Effection to yield on it, we are still not getting a message. Takes message, yeah. I don't see anything immediately wrong with it. So on is from Effection. We're not using any of these. I don't think we're having any like importers or anything now that are being hidden. But we're just not getting error message. So what this is doing here, it is subscribing to the event and maps over it and dumps the event that's coming in as JSON and parses it into the JavaScript object. So we get messages, which is an array of objects. But we're not yielding on it. So that just like starts running. Then we are yielding, which is basically equivalent to like await. And we are waiting at this line until we get a match of type equals start. And once that happens, then we move past this line and expect. There's 2 options. There's expect or join. Join will basically, when this operation finishes, it will just return. Expect will actually throw an error if this expectation isn't met. If using a lot of expects in there, expect will throw an error if this function isn't returning whatever you are putting in there. Sorry, expectation. Expect has an expectation for to have the values that you are expecting. So this code right here will start up a WebSocket server, connect to it, wait for messages. When it sees start, then it'll actually return. It'll give you a log, and then it'll continue. So if this was wrapped with another stuff, you could kind of like await this whole function and continue after the socket server is connected. I think we're basically just doing this though. What do I got on the yield on? Oh, you know what? I think I just realized what I was doing wrong. I copy and pasted these together and just changed the front of it. And because of other errors, just completely overlooked the fact that I wasn't actually doing any operations on the um, on what's returned from here. So I think this is actually more what we're looking for. We are going to get rid of you. Oh, yes, of course, socket is not defined. I need to be using client. We're getting something now. That is great. Type errors. Message for each function. Log. What type error are we getting? I was just about to say, like, let's hang it up for the day, but now we're actually getting something somewhere. And this is where the inspector would be nice. I think I want to hook that up, but I don't think I'm going to bother doing that. At least not today. Maybe not on stream. So we are falling into an error state for on message for each. I am thinking that's probably because we are expecting that. It's just data. Well, let's just log out data. We can't have socket. And you can go away. Okay. Okay. So we've got message data. So I'm kind of surprised that data is just, so data is giving me, are we even getting all of these? Okay, so just the first argument is defined. Client data on message. Let's open up TMI quick. I want to, now that I'm actually getting a little bit of traction, I want to try this real quick. We should be getting some data there. We're doing it on message. Let's double check. So we need to pass in the thing that we are putting the event on. We're looping for each through. It is entirely possible that I want to see if there is a .dat on here. Go here, here. Well, that's frustrating that I completely missed I wasn't doing the for each. That happens though. That happens when you're programming, right? So we can also do something like this. And we can see console.log message event, all of the functions that are available to use as part of the operation. We get and there it is, a subscribe here, nice. So join for each we just loop over it. Basically every time we get one, it'll do the thing. We can filter on specific ones, collect buffered, and match would like try to find a specific one, which is I think sort of similar to what grep is doing too. But the data coming back seems to be missing pieces. So like that's what we're getting. So it's possible that this is either a TMI thing or an affection thing. Because this is a callback. This is probably helpful too. Message, client.message. So it could very well be how their events are set up and written. There's a different expectation there. It's using an event emitter. It's got some listener stuff. I'm thinking that, so we got client. What is on using? This dot emits multiple events, handle messages. Oh, interesting. So a bunch of this is actually emitting event. And this is as part of handle message. This is connected to the, okay, get ready stage. Send messages, close, get token. So when the server connects, so we probably need to look a little bit at the event emitter. I think whatever it's doing with that, it's already got some of the wrapping stuff and it's not just purely doing events. I suspect that might be what the issue is. But that feels like something that probably makes sense to do another day. So event mentor. It is using the emet on prototype. Just doesn't have anything else in here, does it? Channels, connection, server port, fetch agent. Yeah, I think it's something with the event emitter. They're not working together very well. So we'll keep playing around with that. This has been a little bit more of a sidetrack than I was hoping for, for multiple reasons. We had React 17 and React 18, which I fully never expected. We might want to address that, but like upstream with In Effection. Especially as Effection / React is built out a little bit more. And then I'm wondering if what we're seeing here is, oh, and we also didn't have the main wrapping the whole thing. I think what we had might have technically worked because we were just running. So we lose some of the event handling without using the main, but I think it still would have technically worked. And I think most of what was happening was we had multiple copies of React, which were actually hiding errors. That plus the parcel cache were giving us problems. I guess not problems, but it was definitely hiding some of the issues as well. So those two things were just not giving us good information to work off of, because there was some pretty glaring issues like import errors that should have said that it was an issue, but it was just noping out, and I think it was mostly erroring out with the invalid hook call. So once we got all that all cleared up, we got down to the gist of it, which was this event handling is actually still giving us issues, which is what I thought was happening the whole time. But there was other things on top of it that were obscuring some of it too. So I might clean up the last bit of this off stream, and next stream so probably hook up a queue. Layers like an onion, yes. We had to peel them all back. And unfortunately they weren't, they were sort of all upstream, which is never easy to debug. So I'll probably get the queue working off stream, I think. Because I feel like we've spent enough time on Effection things. And then we can start hooking up events, and we got to figure out the OAuth token situation. Once we get the OAuth tokens, so we can set up everything based off of messages. That maybe that's a good first step. Once we have everything based off of messages, then we can do the OAuth token, which should give us access to, we can reply back to chat, which is fine and dandy. But specifically, we want to be able to grab the channel redemptions, and I think that's gated by the OAuth tokens. So we got some things to do still to get everything wired up, and then we can start using that input from chat to control things within our browser source. Definitely more involved than I was expecting it all to be, but It's fun going through it all. So until next time, thanks for stopping by. Have a good weekend. Bye.